students. Welcome to Distance Learning Week 6. I'm Ms. Dent. For those of you who don't know me, I'm one of the English 2 pre-AP teachers. Let's get started. All right, so this week we're talking about dialect, diction, and syntax. Our standard for the week is E2.6. Evaluate the role of syntax and diction and the effect of voice, tone, and imagery on a literary nonfiction text. Our objective is scholars will be able to evaluate the role of syntax, diction, and dialect in a given text. So when we talk about syntax and diction and dialect, all we're really talking about is word choice, how people structure their sentences together, and dialect is really the words that people choose to say depending on what region they're in. Dialect allows an author to tell us the setting or give an even deeper understanding of their setting, their time period, anything that helps us better understand the story. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna watch this video clip, and it's gonna give us different ways that people around the country say different words or different names for items that they see or that they use. While you're watching, pay attention to the map. Pay attention to what they're saying and what region of the country they're saying these words in. As you're also listening, I want you to listen to what sounds familiar to you and what sounds really crazy to you. Y'all ready?
What is your generic term for a sweet carbonated beverage?
Well, that's the soda.
Pop. Coke. What do you call the long sandwich that contains cold cuts, lettuce, and so on? Hero?
Hoagie. Oh, hoagie. Yeah,
I call it the Subway. I generic. I just do that.
That's a po' boy down here.
a pecan is a nut.
Pecan? Well, in New York, it used to be pecan, but in Florida, it's pecan.
Okay, I say pecan.
Pecan. Can you say this word B-A-G?
Bag.
B-A-G. Bag.
Okay, I say it wrong. Bag. Most people in Minnesota do.
Roly-poly.
A pill ball.
Oh, doodlebug.
Little creatures that roll up into a ball.
I don't know what we're talking about. What is that? You mean you're talking about a shrimp?
A U-M-B-R-E-L-L-A?
An umbrella.
What do other people say?
Umbrella.
What do you call it when the rain falls while the sun is shining?
Sun shower.
Front shower.
I went through 5 of them today.
I'm gonna do it. The devil is beating his wife. It's not. I don't really say about it much, but I always think, oh yeah, the devil is beating his wife whenever I see it happening.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
What's
your general term for a rubber-soled shoe worn in gym class?
I would say sneakers.
Sneaker? Them I would call tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes? Gym shoes? Root.
Root?
I know in Midwestern they call it a route.
Route.
A route is when we're beating the other team in basketball by 50 points. That's a route.
And what is your general term for a big road that you drive relatively fast on?
Expressway? Freeway.
I call it a highway.
So I've been trying to say highway on the East Coast. Subway.
Subway.
D-L.
But in DC you call it the metro.
Metro.
The T. My mom works for Bart, so Bart.
Standing in line.
I'm standing in line.
Waiting to get into somewhere.
I'm standing in line.
I'm online.
Online.
What word or words do you use to address a group of 2 or more people?
2 or more people?
Probably, hey, you guys.
You guys? Like, hey guys.
Y'all.
Y'all.
Are y'all coming with us?
Y'all from over here.
So if I was in Philly, I'd probably say, hey, yous.
Yous are the best people I know.
What do you call the box you bury a dead person in?
A coffin. A casket.
Okay.
M-I-R-A-C-L-E.
You mean miracle? A miracle? Miracle.
Miracle.
Miracle. Yeah, you believe in miracles?
All right, so we saw how so many different people from all over our country say things differently. My roommate in college, she's from Pittsburgh, and we say y'all in Texas, but she says yins. Never heard that before in my life, but that tells me that she's from a totally different place than I am. There were some things that were in the video that kind of stuck out to me, like when people were waiting in line, some people in the country say online. That's weird because that's on the internet. Anyways, hope that gave you a better understanding of what dialect is. We're going to move on to the next slide. All right, so to explain diction, We talked about this during the beginning of the school year. Diction is really just your word choice. The words that you choose to use instead of using other words. It's very, very simple. All right, so we have a anchor chart right here. It says diction, the words an author uses to convey ideas to a reader. Easy peasy, it's real simple. To analyze diction, you need to think about the author's purpose. Pay close attention to word choice, look for patterns. So when we talk about author's purpose, we're talking about why the author created it and how the author created it. The how is called the author's craft. All right, so if you look at the other side of the slide, it says common examples of diction. So somebody could say, I'm a bit upset versus I'm so pissed off. Another one is I would be delighted versus sure, why not? I'll do it right away, sir, versus yeah, just a sec. The reason why we use diction is because it adds an effect to the tone or the voice of either the author or the characters. All right, so for like that first example where it says I'm a bit upset versus I'm so pissed off, when somebody says I'm a bit upset, you kind of get that feeling like they're upset, but it really isn't bothering them. When somebody says I'm so pissed off, that lets you know like they're real ticked off. All right, so syntax. Syntax is just an easy way to say how you put your sentences together. The way the words are arranged in a syntax according to the anchor chart. To analyze syntax, look at the sentence length and its effect on the intended message, the type of sentences that are used, and punctuation and the message that it conveys, excuse me. All right, so some examples of syntax. We know subject-verb agreement. We know that when you say she is a person, that's correct. We're not gonna say she am a person. I know a lot of times when y'all come in class, y'all like, what we gonna learn today? That's still sentence or syntax. It's your sentence structure. It's how you put your words together to form your sentence. Now, the correct form is what are we going to learn today? But we already know what y'all are talking about, and that's what how we use our syntax. All right, let's move on. Okay, so for our model activity, we're going to read a literary nonfiction text. This lesson will also give you a good idea of how to create your end of the year short story assignment. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on this link. You're going to read an excerpt from Sweat by Zora Neale Hurston. And I really want you to pay attention to the time period and the setting of her stories. I'm going to tell you right now, the verbiage used in her story is a little difficult because her dialect is very, very different. All right. Most of her stories take place in like the 1920s, southern region of the United States. But if y'all can read each other's text messages, I'm pretty sure you can read this. All right, so we're gonna pause for 10 minutes. I'm gonna let you guys read the story, and then I'm gonna take you to your collaborative practice. All right, so I'm gonna choose a scene from the story, and I'm gonna talk you through how the scene contributes to the overall plot. All right, so this scene comes from paragraph 17, and it says, Delia's habitual meekness seemed to slip from her shoulders like a blown scarf. She was on her feet, her poor little body, her bare knuckly hands bravely defying the strapping Hulk before her. All right, so the impact on the plot is Hurston uses habitual meekness and poor little body to demonstrate Delia's presumed timidness towards Sykes versus using strapping Hulk when she's speaking about Sykes. Diction and syntax allow the author to illustrate how a woman from the South in the 1920s was considered weak when it came to a man. We as the readers come to find out from the diction from the diction used, bravely defying that Delia turns out to be stronger than she thinks and much stronger than society deems her to be. All of that is saying the author used words like meekness, and if you don't know what meekness means, meekness is pretty much like she's timid, she's weak, and poor little body to demonstrate that women of that time period were considered to be weak people. They were considered to be less strong than a man. And it shows us that Sykes is supposed to be this strapping Hulk, meaning he's supposed to be like this big dude. But from reading the story, you'll understand that Sykes really isn't anything. He's lazy, he's immature, and she's tired of him. And so basically, these words put together shows that, especially the bravely defying, because that lets us know Delia isn't your typical type of woman. She's not weak. She's sick of him. And y'all know when we get sick of people, it's like, I'm done with you. And that's pretty much what this scene lets us, know. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to go back through the story, and you're going to pick another scene, and you're going to kind of write out what you feel that diction or syntax or even the dialect how it impacts the plot. All right. Okay. In case you needed some help and you couldn't figure it out because the words look crazy, and I don't talk like that, miss, I'm going to give you another example. So, paragraph 18 gives us, and I'm going to try to read through this like it says it, y'all. So please don't judge me. Thank you. Look at here, Sykes. You done gone too far. I've been married to you for 15 years and I've been taking and washing for 15 years. Sweat, sweat, sweat. Working sweat, crying sweat, praying sweat. Sis is fed up. Hurston uses repetition as a form of her diction and syntax. She uses sweat 6 times in this one paragraph. Repetition means that the author wants to emphasize an important part of the text. So Delia basically tells Sykes that for 15 years, that's a long time, she has been putting up with not only her job, but his immature ways as well. When she says sweat, 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 she places emphasis on how hard she works without any appreciation from him. The next line, working sweat, crying sweat, praying sweat, was written by Hurston to show the reader that no matter what she did, she was a hard worker. She could work hard, cry about it, and then work harder, and then pray about it, and then work even harder. She never lessened her work ethic because it got hard. In fact, it almost seems that Hurston wanted the reader to understand that she worked harder when the workload got tougher. So last week we talked about characterization. A lot of the time, your diction that you're using in stories, the dialect that they use, the way that they've structured their sentences and put them together and constructed them really reflects back on the character and how they overcome things, how they deal with things, how they think things through. So it all works together to help the plot move further. Hope that makes sense to y'all. All right, so for your collaborative practice, you're gonna go to your Google Classroom for your prospective teachers, or respective teachers, sorry. And then what you're gonna do is there are gonna be some discussion questions. On those discussion questions, you're going to choose one of the following questions and respond to your classmates. Y'all, please don't just put I agree because blah, 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 or I disagree because blah, 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 blah. We really want y'all to think. Yes, we're not in class with y'all. We're not at home with y'all, but we really want y'all to continue to use your brains. So please provide elaboration in your answers. I'm going to give you all 4 of them so that I can kind of explain to you what they're saying. All right, so number 1 says Hurston emphasizes the identity, culture, and history of African Americans in the South at the time of her writing. Discuss 2 of these elements, not 1, 2. All right, you're basically going to say, how does identity or culture or the history of African Americans, how does that emphasize how she's writing? Okay, number 2, does the contrast between the dialects and sweat undermine the author's attempt to present portrayals of African Americans? Do you think that the use of her dialect in the South during the 1920s, do you think that it accurately portrays African Americans during that time? All right. And then number 3, what knowledge about the characters and setting is shared with the reader by the use of dialect? So what do we already know about dialect and how does that help us understand the characters and the setting? And number 4 is, how does Hurston connect words and phrases to establish the voice/tone of the text? Remember I told you your choice of words, we were talking about the I'm a bit upset versus I'm so pissed off. Using certain words helps you better understand what that character is feeling or what the author wants you to feel. So keep that in mind if you're doing number 4. All right. So the next part is your independent practice. Now, before I get started, let me explain that pre-AP, you all have a different literary text to read, and I'm going to give y'all the name of that when I'm done explaining this slide. All right, so you're going to log into your Google Classroom to access the text for your class. You're going to choose a scene that depicts a strong example of the author's craft, which includes diction, syntax, tone, or any figurative language. Explain how this scene builds the reader's understanding of the importance of diction and syntax in a given text. And then number 3, how might the understanding of the syntax and diction help you to better develop your own short stories for when you guys get to your performance assessments? All right, so the name of the text is Pigs for pre-AP. The name of your text is I Come From Women Illiterate and Rough-Skinned. It's already in there. Y'all just go look at it. Independent practice. You're going to complete the formative assessment by yourself, and then you're going to submit it. Congratulations! That was so fake. Let's go find out where they're posted. And remember, your deadline is Friday at noon. Google Classroom. You're going to hit classwork, and it's going to say week 6 independent practice, week 6 assessment. Every teacher has something, may have it differently worded, but know that when you get there, it's going to have something about pigs it's pigs, or I come from women illiterate and rough skinned. All right. So once you do those things, you just answer the questions that are in the independent practice. You answer whatever the assessment. Don't forget to turn your stuff in, upload it, make sure it's really good, y'all. We miss y'all. We love y'all. Wish we were coming back to see y'all, but unfortunately we're probably not. So y'all be safe, take it easy, and that is week 6.